Now, it's time for Spotlight on Business, where every week we put the spotlight on a different local business so you can find out how they serve you and the community. Now from Michiana's Morning News, it's Laura Smith.
Welcome to the Merchant Alliance Show, and this is really, truly the place where we get to celebrate all things downtown Elkhart. Downtown Elkhart, the city with a heart, the place that is so vibrant and growing by the day. And the very reason why I bought my house was to be close to downtown Elkhart. In fact, there is so much going on and so much to do that there's a website for that, and it's dodowntownelkhart.com. Today, we have someone from one of my favorite spots on all of Main Street in downtown Elkhart, and that is the Midwest Museum of American Art. And I absolutely love it. It's the place that makes me feel like I'm kind of back in New York when I go there. And we have the executive director with us today, Jennifer Averill. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me today, Lauren. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love that. I love the museum. I really do. It really feels like it's just like what a museum reminds you, of like when you were little and growing up, and you go in and everything feels historic and beautiful. And I love it. I love the experience. I'm so happy we have it in Elkhart because I think every town needs a museum like this one.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, we've been in downtown Elkhart since 1979.
Wow.
So, yeah, we've been there for a while, and you're right. Our building is beautiful. It's 2 stories. We're in the old St. Joseph Valley Bank building.
Yes.
1922 is when it was built, so you get to see a lot of history when you walk in. We even have the original bank vault, and the bank vault we have turned into one of our galleries.
Oh, how fabulous. Of course. Why not? And all of the work is priceless in my book. Tell us what is behind the premise of, when anybody is thinking of doing a museum or opening a museum for the public, sometimes it has to do specifically with that town or whatever. But I feel more like when I go into the Midwest Museum of Art, that it's really kind of it's more like when you're going to, say, a museum in Chicago or in New York City or in Europe or something, has the feel of having sort of this much broader scope than just the local area where we are. Although there are influences, of course, that come directly from Elkhart.
Absolutely. Well, so you have to go back to the founders of the museum, which were Richard and Jane Burns, and they were probably considered now ahead of their time in that they loved art. They felt very philanthropic toward the community. And so they're the ones who bought the old St. Joseph Valley Bank building and had the vision to turn it into a museum. So they purchased that in 78, and then in 79 it opened. And then they made sure that there was art from American artists. That's why it's the Midwest Museum of American Art. And so they made sure that there were people who were significant to the various time periods through the 19th, 20th, and now 21st centuries that are showcased there. So there's Grant Wood.
Oh, yes.
So that's wonderful. We have in the pop art, we have Andy Warhol. We have 3 Andy Warhols. Mm-hmm. We have Helen Frankenthaler, who's also a really well-known female abstract expressionist. We have all of the Hoosier Group artists that were very pivotal to Indiana art back in the early 1900s. So you're correct. There's art from all sorts of famous American artists. We also have artwork from the Southwest, from well-known Indian Native American artists like John Akwikta Smith. So whatever you like, you'll find there.
Absolutely. I love that. And what foresight those people had, and what generous hearts to want to have that, in our town. I'm assuming they were able to have the means to have it continue on for future generations. Is there a fundraising arm to the museum?
Well, yes. Actually, the museum is a 501c3 entity. And so when it was set up as a charity, and it survives on donations, admissions, memberships, and then, of course, grants. And so that's vital to its success because it is not tied to any university or college. It's not tied to a branch of government. And so for it to continue on, it has to rely on its generous donors.
Wow. And so far, that's been a successful record?
Well, what I would say is it's okay when we're trying to just maintain operations, but like any nonprofit, we do have times when we have to have capital improvements, both exterior and interior, and we've been working on a lot of things. The last 2 years, we had to put a new roof on last year, which was quite expensive. And then we have the restoration of our north wall that's going on this year. So it becomes a little more intense when we're doing capital campaigns.
Sure. But such a worthy cause for sure. And in terms of like the very first installment, I guess, of the museum, Who was it that provided the artwork for it? Was it the family themselves that started
Well, actually, that's a great question. So in 1979, for the first opening, they were personal friends with the artist Leroy Neiman. And so Leroy Neiman came into Elkhart for that opening. And the first exhibit, Richard Burns and Jane Burns contacted various art collectors throughout Elkhart County and the surrounding counties, and then created a very large exhibit that was a compilation of many collectors' works of American art. So while they did donate some of their personal collection and continue to do so over the years, the first opening was really generated by many people who were ardent art collectors. And that's probably one of the most interesting things I think about northern Indiana and Elkhart County and St. Joe is the love of art in our region. And there are so many hidden gems and so many people who love and appreciate art and are collectors. And so it's a great thing when we want to showcase certain artists that are well known. We can contact these collectors and they'll loan their artwork to the museum.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that obviously has a stellar reputation and they feel safe and comfortable doing that. I just think it's amazing. But, you know, Elkhart, if you look at the pictures back in 20s, I mean, it was a metropolis. It was a bustling metropolis. And I remember my dad telling us when we were little, you know, that Elkhart, Indiana has more millionaires per capita than any other city in the country. And I remember thinking, is that possible or whatever? But I think with that comes philanthropy and a love of, you know, art and museums and such. We're very fortunate because not every small Midwestern town has a museum of this level.
Oh, you are absolutely correct. For a long time, we were the only museum outside of Indianapolis that had a Grant Wood in Indiana. And the closest that you could see that would be to travel to Chicago to the Art Institute. So that is absolutely true. And one of the other things the museum has is the largest collection of Norman Rockwell collotypes in the country. So I'm not saying Norman Rockwell originals because, of course, those are in the Norman Rockwell Museum in Massachusetts. But outside of that, we have the largest collection of collotypes.
What are collotypes?
Collotypes are a form of like a photograph of the work of art, but they're very high res and they're signed by the artist and they're typically numbered like a lithograph or a serigraph, but they're very, very high quality. And we just obtained a new one, Ruby Bridges, which is the little girl being walked to school during the Civil Rights era by the U.S. Marshals, and that is part of our 250 exhibit. So we have a 250 Norman Rockwell exhibit that has the Four Freedoms, the Ruby Bridges piece. It has the Golden Rule, which is also very famous. It's the one that in 1984 the United Nations made a mosaic of, and it hangs now in the United Nations building. So it's a really wonderful exhibit, and I would encourage anyone to come and see that because that is up this year only for the 250, and we will have other Norman Rockwell exhibits, but right now that's our focal point.
Oh, my goodness. And who doesn't love Norman Rockwell?
Well, isn't that the truth?
So quintessentially American and will forever be so. And in fact, where I lived in New York, right around the corner from my house was a house that he lived in. So there was a big plaque on that. It was very famous. It's a little tiny village in Westchester, New York. But I always felt very proud of that because I thought, It is. It's just something that we can identify with, I think, as Americans. And I love that the focal point of the museum is on American art. I think, because I just got back from Europe, last year, at the end of last year, and, went to the Louvre and went to all those wonderful, beautiful museums. And it's exciting, and it's life-changing in many ways. But it's so good to see a place that focuses on the great American art that there is, because we have so much of it here, and
we absolutely do. We are so fortunate, and we don't showcase American art as much as, in the United States, the museum obviously does. But it's really easy to get caught up in the old masters from Europe and some of the really well-known contemporary artists out of Europe.
Yes.
And they're wonderful. Trust me, I appreciate all art. But we do love having our focal point be American art and American artists.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. My guest is the executive director of the beautiful Midwest Museum of American Art, which is on Main Street, on South Main Street in the old St. Joseph Valley Bank, and beautiful, across from Hotel Elkhart.
That's right.
When I stayed there, I looked out my window and I was looking straight at the museum. I said, this is where I'm staying. This is perfect for me. I just love it. It really, truly is. It's a gem, and we're so fortunate to have it here and to have Jennifer Averill. Thank you so much. We're going to come back. You're going to tell us all that we have to look forward to this summer and beyond, the fall, everything else that the Midwest Museum of Art, American Art, is going to be highlighting, because we want to stay on top of it and make sure that we don't miss any of it. You're listening to the Merchant Alliance Show. I'm Laura Smith. We'll be right back.
Podcasts by Federated Media.